Pick up the end of your yarn. Here we're going to make a slip knot to start the teddy bear hand puppet. So make a loop with the end of your yarn, and you want to leave a little bit of length at the end. Now pull the end of the yarn through this loop to create an A shape, and then pull with your right hand to make sure that the bottom loop is tight. Place a knitting needle through this loop, and then once you've done that, pull the ends of the yarn to tighten the loop around the needle. Now we're going to cast on, so grab the other knitting needle, push the right needle through the loop underneath the left knitting needle. Grab the long end of the yarn and wrap around the end of the right knitting needle, and then pull the needle through the original loop. Hook this remaining loop of yarn on the end of the left knitting needle. Then pull the long end of the yarn to tighten this new loop or stitch around the needle. To cast on another stitch, we do the same as before. Needle through stitch, yarn around the right needle, and then pull through. Hook the new loop onto the left needle and keep the short end of the yarn out of the way. So this is what it looks like after casting on a few stitches. So now we're going to continue on until you casted 15 stitches in total, and this is what it should look like. Now we're going to start knitting. So place your right knitting needle through the first stitch on your left knitting needle. Then you want to wrap the long end of your yarn around the right needle in the same way as before. Pull the yarn through the stitch again, but now we're just going to push the previous stitch off the end of the left knitting needle. Just be careful that you don't drop any stitches just at this point. To continue knitting, we just do the same things before. Right needle through the next stitch, wrap the yarn around the needle, and then pull through and push the previous stitch off the left needle. Keep working in the same way until all of the stitches on the left needle are on the right needle, meaning that your first row of knitting is complete. This is what your first row of knitting should look like on both sides. You now want this needle in your left hand and the other one on your right. So now we're going to continue knitting the same way as before for 32 rows. This is what it should look like when you finish the 32 rows. Don't worry if your stitches are a bit uneven, that's okay as a beginner. And that's what the other side should look like. You can count these rows using a pen or the other knitting needle. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16 just there. And then we turn to the other side. And so we've got 16 on one side. And now we've got 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So you don't count the cast on edge. Now we're going to cast on stitches to create arms for the teddy bear. So push the right needle through the first stitch, wrap the yarn around, pull through as before, and then you hook the new loop or stitch over the end of the left knitting needle. So keep doing this until you have casted on 8 stitches in total. So this is what it should look like once you've casted on all 8 stitches. Now we're going to knit just as before, back along the next row, all the way to the end. So push the right needle through the first stitch, wrap the yarn around, pull through, and then push the previous stitch off the end of the needle. Keep doing this until the end of the row. Again, be careful not to drop any stitches. So now we've knitted all along that row. Now we want to cast on 8 stitches on the other side of the row, same as before. This is what it looks like after casting on the other 8 stitches. so the arms are starting to take shape. Now we want to knit right along all those stitches again. So take your other needle, push the needle through the stitch, wrap around the yarn, pull through and push the previous stitch off the left needle. And keep going like that throughout the row. So here's what it should look like. So the arms are starting to take shape. So don't worry if they're a little bit wonky. You can fix them when you're sewing up at the end. So now what we want to do is we're going to knit a further 8 rows across all stitches on the left hand needle. So now the arms are done. We're going to finish off the arms by casting off 8 stitches at the start of this row. So first of all, to cast off, knit 2 stitches. Then what you're going to do is you're going to pull the first stitch that you made over the second one and off of the right hand needle. Try to keep good tension in your right hand while holding the long end of the yarn, and be careful not to pull too tightly. So we do the same again. You knit another stitch and then you pull the previous stitch over. This casting off method creates a really nice sturdy edge to your knitting. So keep doing that until you've casted off 8. Once these 8 stitches have been casted off, now we want to knit to the end of the row. So here's what it looks like. Now we want to do the same thing, cast off 8 stitches and then knit to the end of the row again. So knit 2 stitches and then pull the first one over the second and off the needle. And then do it again, knit another stitch, pull the first stitch over the second one and off the needle. And keep doing that until you've got 8 stitches casted off. Once you've casted off these 8 stitches, you want to keep knitting until the end of the row. So this is what it looks like when you've finished both arms. So now what we're going to do is we are going to keep knitting along all of the stitches until you've knitted 38 rows in total. So this is what it looks like when you've knitted the full 38 rows. So now we want to count them. Don't include the arm cast off edge. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. So I've just got one more row to do here, but you get the idea. So now we want to cast on 8 stitches just as before. This is for the second pair of arms, and what we're going to do at the end of this is we fold over the bear and sew together. So keep going until you've casted on 8 stitches. So again, we want to now knit across all of these stitches, and then on the next row after this we cast on 8 stitches, and then we knit across the full row again, just like the arms before. And this is what it looks like afterwards. So we now want to knit a further 8 rows across all stitches. So here the second arm pair is finished. Now we want to cast off 8 stitches as before, knit to the end of the row, cast off another 8 stitches on the other side, and knit to the end of the row again. So now that both arms have been casted off, what we now want to do is knit 32 rows. So this is what you should have after knitting these 32 rows, and now we're just going to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16, and then we should have 16 on the other side as well. So we don't include the cast off edge when we're counting, we start from the row above that. So we've got 32 rows in total. We're now going to cast off all the stitches. So just as before, knit 2 stitches, and then pull the first stitch over the second. You want to continue this until the last stitch is left on your needle. So keep knitting, knit 2, and then pull the first over the second and off the needle. You should now have a nice sturdy edge along the bottom of your hand puppet. So what you want to do is you want to take the end of the yarn, cut it and pull through the end through the final stitch, and then tie it into a knot. And this is what your teddy bear will look like when it's done. So what we're going to do is we need a nose and a mouth, so grab a bit of tapestry yarn, tie a knot in one end, and then grab your sewing needle and thread the needle. So you want to choose a spot just above the arms and in the centre of the bear's head. So you want to sew from the back of the teddy bear to the front. So this is the bottom of the nose. So push the needle through from behind and then pull the tapestry yarn through fully. Be careful not to pull the knot fully through, so you can leave it at the back. So find another spot 2 rows above this stitch and 1 stitch to the right. Push the needle through and pull the yarn through fully. This will create a diagonal line on the teddy bear. Then find a spot 1 to 2 inches to the left of this stitch, and then push the needle through fully from behind, and again draw the tapestry yarn through fully, and then push the needle through the original stitch, and this creates a V shape on the front of the teddy bear. So this is the nose outline. Find the stitch directly above this point 2 rows up and push the needle through from the back. And then return this needle to the original stitch as before, creating a third line. You want to fill this shape by inserting the sewing needle at the top of the nose and then bringing it back to the bottom of the nose. Repeat this all along the top line until there is no knitting shown through the nose on the outside of the bear. Once the nose has been filled, insert the needle into a stitch just below the nose, bringing it back up to the starting point of the nose. Insert the needle into the same stitch again, bringing the needle out just above and to the right of that stitch. So don't worry if the tapestry yarn drops out of the needle, just rethread it and connect to another length of yarn if you need to. Insert the needle back into the previous stitch and bring it out just above and to the left of that stitch. So now you want to turn the bear over and tie a knot in the tapestry yarn. So you'll cut that bit short at the end. So now we want to make the eyes. So grab another bit of tapestry yarn and then tie a knot in one end. And then thread the sewing needle as before. So you want to find a spot that is 1 row above the top of the nose and 1 stitch to the right. So push the needle through and then pull the tapestry yarn fully through as well. And be careful to leave the knot at the back of the bear. Then what you want to do is you want to find a stitch to the upper left of this spot, push the yarn through again, like so. Find another spot, a stitch to the right of this, and then pull through again. And then finally, once you've done that, return the needle and the yarn to the original stitch, and this basically creates a smaller V shape for the eye. So now you want to fill this shape by inserting the sewing needle at the top of the eye, like so, and then bringing the needle back down towards the bottom of the eye. Repeat this until there's no knitting shown through the eye on the outside of the bear. So now you want to do the same for the second eye as before. So picking a stitch to the left of the nose instead. So the eyes and the nose are now done. What you want to do is turn over the bear and then tie a knot in the tapestry yarn. And now we cut both ends short. To sew up the bear, get a length of the original yarn and then tie a knot in one end. Thread the sewing needle as before. Don't worry if you don't get it the first time. Sometimes folding over the yarn itself can help push it through the needle. So to sew up, hold the sides of the bear together. Push the needle and the yarn through both sides. All the way to the knot. And now you want to find a spot further to the left of this stitch along the sides. So you push the needle through and then pull the yarn through fully on both sides. And then pull the stitch tight. So you want to continue doing this along the sides of the bear. So hold the sides together, push the needle through both sides, and then pull the yarn through again. Once you've done this, you'll have a nice sturdy edge to the hand puppet. So take care to keep them together so that both sides line up. So now that this is done, you want to tie a knot in the end of the yarn, and then you want to cut off the long end. So repeat these stages for the other side of the bear, keeping the sides together. So once you're finished sewing up, you want to cut all the long ends of the yarn so that it's all neat and tidy. And this is the final teddy bear hand puppet.